Another thing that I challenged myself to do was write affirmations down. I listened to Ayamla Van Zant, her podcast, The R Spot. Did a couple of episodes in November about self worth. One of the exercises that she gave her listeners was to write I am statements or 40 I am statements about yourself, 40 days. So, anyway, I did it. Here, somebody gave me this writing tab or writing pad, this I am grateful writing pad, and I didn't even know what to do with it. Like, so it was already set up for me to do it. Actually, it didn't say I am grateful, but I put I am grateful because I start every day with gratefulness. And so I did it 40 days, or actually, I'm like on 42 days or something like that. It's changed my life. It really has, because the affirmation that I was looking for outside of myself, I actually already had inside of me. One day, my story will be someone else's survival guide. You don't know if somebody's dying because they didn't hear your story. The biggest changes in your life that you will experience are changes that you make from the inside out, not the outside in. I mean, you could work it out. You can keep working outside all you want to, but if your skin is, filled with grease from the fried foods that you're eating, and your body is tired of trying to modulate and accommodate all the crap that you're putting in your body, then you're gonna get nowhere fast. So this, even though it's very, very small, was very, very big for me because, like I said, the lesson that I learned in this exercise was some well, a lot of us seek outside of ourselves for what we actually have inside of ourselves. We already have the power inside of us. I am no longer ashamed. I am giving with an open heart. I am able to receive with an open heart. I am clear. I am light. I am intuitive. Ooh, I just got the chills. I am fit. I am healthy. I am getting stronger. I deserve to be treated well. I love my body. I love my skin. I am a goddess. I am a queen. I am powerful. I am responsible. I am truthful. I am courageous. I am independent. I love myself. I choose myself. I am abundant in resource. All that I want and need is within me. Abundance is my birthright. We don't even think about that. And not abundance as in like funds, but all of us are abundant in resource. We have things, but some of us connect it to only money. But money is not your biggest resource. I am blooming. It's my season. I offer love and compassion even when I'm hurt. Oof. The universe works through me. There's no problem, only destiny revealed. I honor myself. I welcome my future. I am fearless. So this is me being fearless right now because I was scared to take a chance on myself. I ain't gonna front. I ain't gonna lie. So I redesigned my notary website, MalloryMotary.com, and I changed my business to uh, remote. So if you need notarial services anywhere in the United States, I got you. So catch me on the interwebs. Let's go to my website, MalloryMotary.com. That's MALLORYMOTARY. It's a play on words. Mallory Motory, your mobile notary.
Mallory Motory, your mobile notary. Mallory Motory, your mobile notary. Mallory Motory, your mobile notary. Mallory Motory, your mobile notary.
I got a whole commercial and jingle and everything. That's where my creative space mind is. Anyway, Yeah, if you need notarial services or you know anyone that needs notarial services, I got you. Find me online. Regarding people, the proverb birds of a feather flock together, 110 million% true. We do tend to gravitate to people who reflect who we are at our current space and where we are in life. So if we look at our friend circle and we're like, we don't want to be like that, then you got to change your friends. It's okay to outgrow people. You don't have to release them in anger. You can release them in love. Say, I love you. But also, this is not something that I do anymore. So, releasing people in love. I've been released in love. Let's talk about it. And I'm okay with that because the people that I have around me are the people that love me and the people that I need, my soul needs at that very moment. These are three things I tell my students about being online. First of all, question everything. Don't believe what you read. As what you read, because anything that you believe, you will be able to validate with something that you read online. I can Google anything. I can Google anything that I don't believe, and it'll pop up. It'll pop up and affirm my beliefs and affirm my values. So question everything. Secondly, research all sides of the issue and then be able to discern or master the ability to discern if what you're reading or listening to is an objective fact or someone's opinion that's laced with so much emotion that's passed off as a fact. And it's really opinion. Many people don't upset or possess these critical thinking skills. So there are many radicalized people passing off their opinions as facts. So I am here to encourage you today. Please, 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 please proceed with caution and look for objective facts and build your critical thinking skills. If words of love and gratitude and negative words can change the shape of water, the molecular structure of water, and living things, including humans, are mostly water, then words literally change the shape of us as people. So we have to be careful with our thoughts, and we have to be careful what we think about ourselves, and we have to be careful about the words that we speak to others. You are literally praying and meditating negativity and fear if you are breeding these spaces and putting that out into the universe. I am into podcasts now, so that's why I had to start one myself. You can listen to, if you're into relationship stuff like I am, connecting with people, the R Spot. I love Van Zant, love her. Next Level Soul with Alex Ferrari. It's a little bit woo woo-y, but love listening to and opening my mind with Alex Ferrari. Eckhart Tolle, he has one, but his voice is dry, so you got to be like, don't listen to that. Well, actually, you can listen to that as you go to sleep because it will impart on your subconscious. But don't listen to while you drive because you'll get it to highway hypnosis and crash. So I listen to it actually while I'm running because that's where I can inhale his teachings the best. On Purpose with Jay Shetty. Where Should We Begin by Esther Perel. I love her because she talks about connecting with people. Lovers and Friends by Shan Boudreaux. She's a sexologist and I've watched her for a long time. And then Even Me by Dr. Shirlisa Jackson. I started doing a Mal Minute for her podcast, and now that's propelled me into this space. So check all of those podcasts out. I find it, I didn't have a better term for this, subconsciously hypocritical to send money to an organization that helps others overseas or even others outside of your community. And then you drive right past the unhoused that's on the corner, or don't even look their way. I don't often carry cash with me, but I will at least acknowledge their presence because they are human. And so I will at least wave and I will at least let them know through the window that I don't have any money to give them at the moment. If you have resources to help those who are local and help others who are outside of our community, that is beautiful. You are blessed and you should continue to do it. But if you must make a choice, I encourage you to look around you and see what needs to be done already in the community in which you live, because if you choose to pour into the community in which you live, you will be enriched. You will find that you are directly benefiting from the service that you are giving to your communities. Our souls agree to manifest themselves into this life to serve a purpose for the greater good of the greater consciousness. And we all don't have the same purpose here. We all have individuals' purposes, and in our life, it's up to us to find out what our purpose is. And once we find it, we are supposed to fall into it and use it to ascend the greater good. So I think it's a bit egotistical for people to compare their life journey with someone else's life journey, because we came here, it's us against us. We were born by ourselves. Well, there's multiples, but still, you're born by yourself, and then you die by yourself. Your body's dies by itself. So it's truly you against you the whole entire time you're here. It's not you against anybody else. It's the superiority complex of the ego that makes us think that we're pitted up against somebody else. Whenever I run a race, I am like, it's me against me. I do my PRs, but it's not in comparison to somebody else's personal records. It's my own personal record. So I say all that to say, because we don't have the same purpose, allow yourself to make a mistake as long as you learn from them. So there's the caveat to that. Everything has happened the way it was supposed to happen to get you to where you are. I tell kids in my class, every choice has a consequence. And so, like when we're getting ready to go to instruments, I'll often say, here's what I expect of you. When you get to your instruments, you're going to get in Rest X, Wakanda Forever, and then you are not going to touch your instrument. Those of you who choose to touch your instrument will choose not to play with us today. And who you gonna be mad at? That's always that's my next thing. And then one kid will say yourself, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. You're gonna be mad at yourself because you made the choice, and I've told you what the consequence is. So just putting that ownership of consequence back on yourself is so important because you're making the choices. We're all compliant in our reality. So here's my challenge to you today. First of all, fail forward. John C. Maxwell did say that. Fail forward. So if you keep failing, go forward. And then unlearn and relearn the messages that you've received about failure. So you can look at your life situations as learning lessons. That way it's easier to embrace failure. It's nothing that you should regret, but more just soul lessons. These are soul lessons that you're supposed to have. I first want to say that if you came here to hear, if I was going to bash the male species or speak reckless about relationships, then you need to turn me off because this is not for you. I'm opinionated, of course, but as you know, if you've been watching me, I'm team facts over feelings. So that's why I've started every episode and will continue to preface every episode with the facts or some sort of facts. You've probably been inundated with many pieces of information about relationships, or you've seen men bashing women and women bashing men. It's been kind of sad to see, actually, because in a space where we need to band together, it's crazy that we've been seeing this. I don't feel like you could truly speak to something you haven't personally experienced. For instance, would any company throw just somebody in their CEO position without knowing they have the education, but do they have the experience to run this company? I would think not. I would hope not. In the same sense, I'm thinking about, because it's Super Bowl week, I had to ask my husband too. I'm like, did Andy Reid ever play football? But it was almost like a dub question because I hope that he has, so that he knows how to coach the team. If he had just got his coaching position without ever having any connection to football, I would think that that would be erroneous on the Chiefs organization to be able to do that. Even though I'm talking about an experience that I've had or these experiences that I've had, I have certainly not mastered all the skill sets needed for successful relationships, because everything in life requires skill sets, and especially relationships, both intimate and platonic, communication skills, conflict resolution skills, listening skills, emotional intelligence skills, empathy skills, honest self reflection, financial management skills, intimacy skills, sex skills, because intimacy and sex are not the same, teamwork, compassion, patience, so many more. I have glows and I have grows in all of these skill sets. But in growing my emotional intelligence, at least I'm aware enough to reflect on where I glow and where I need to grow. Not only is it an important skill to have for relationships with others, but even more important for the relationship that you have with yourself. The most important relationship that you'll ever have in this life is the relationship that you have with yourself. You are your longest relationship. So, growing yourself from the inside out is the best thing that you can do for yourself and other relationships you want to have outside of you. Here's a picture of Jay Shetty, and here's a picture of his book, Eight Rules of Love. Jay Shetty makes this distinction between loneliness and solitude because oftentimes people rush to get into things because they don't like the space that's created when you have to be by yourself. And he says, Paul Tillich said, language has created the word loneliness to express the pain of being alone, and it has created the word solitude to express the glory of being alone. The difference between loneliness and solitude is the lens through which we see our time alone and how we use that time. The lens of loneliness makes us insecure and prone to bad decisions. The lens of solitude makes us open and curious. As such, solitude is a foundation on which we build our love. Solitude is not a failure to love, it is the beginning of love. If we are constantly looking for love or constantly focused on our partner, we'll be distracted from the vital work of understanding ourselves. If we don't understand ourselves, we risk taking on the taste and values of our partner. Their vision becomes our vision. We might choose to sign on to someone's vision because we admire it. Someone might be a skilled cook whose tutelage we gratefully accept, but we don't want to mold ourselves to someone else simply because we don't know ourselves. Through choices we make in solitude, we set our own standard for how we want to live and love and be loved. With the space to write our narrative from our own point of view, we gradually overcome the influence of movies, books, our parents, or caregivers' models, or a partner's wishes. We clarify our vision of love. Solitude helps you recognize that there is a you before, a you during, and a you after every relationship, forging your own way even when you have company in love. Then, when our narrative intersects someone else's, we don't make choices based on infatuation or follow someone else's vision of love or passively let things play out without knowing what we want. Instead, we gradually express the standard we've developed to see how it fits with theirs. And when we're in solitude again, we reflect and evolve. I've heard of fight, flight, and freeze and fawn. I've heard of all of them, but I was thankful to be a part of this conversation to hear talk about what fawning was. And I had to lean in because after she said that it was when one develops people pleasing behaviors to avoid conflict or harm, I knew she was talking about me. I felt like she was talking about me, even though she didn't know that she was talking about me because that was me. And I looked it up on Google, and the examples were ignoring your own needs to take care of somebody else's, not feeling seen or heard by others, not being able to say no, feeling responsible for other people's emotions, not voicing your own values, and not having clear boundaries. I certainly felt exposed by that because that has all been me. When people are in people pleasing behaviors, they mask who they actually are because they're trying to become what makes other people comfortable to be. It's crazy. I lived my whole life like that. A lot of my life like that. But now I'm in a space where I don't care. I'm just all me. This is what you get. You get me and that's it. So had to go back and reflect on all of the times that I gaslit my gut. And it's not just individual times on a micro level, it's like macro. I gaslit my gut in my teaching career. I was working my butt off and I'd be like, oh, but it's for the kids. I was working for the kids, but at the detriment to myself. So I was gaslighting myself to say like I'm okay, but I really wasn't okay. I've gaslit my gut while writing my dissertation. I'll talk about that at a later date. I've gaslit my gut while parenting. I'll talk about that at some point. I've gaslit my gut while watching what's being projected as our federal political reality, and it shouldn't be. And that's going to be a topic of discussion this year because that's like the undercurrent because we have a presidential election going on, but we know that local matters are, very, very important. And so we have to funnel our energy into that. And I had to be completely honest with myself and saying, like, I've gaslit my gut during my marriage. That is certainly been enlightening and certainly a lot to walk through. Awareness is key. And in awareness, that's where the healing can take place. Intimacy and sex are not the same thing. Intimacy is the closeness you can feel with someone else, and it's not just a physical closeness. So, one can be emotionally intimate, intellectually intimate, experientially intimate, sensually intimate, spiritually intimate, and creatively intimate. All examples of intimacy needs. Furthermore, your partner that you are relating with may not be able to provide all the ways that you need intimacy. If you need a certain intimacy that the person that you're partnered with is not able to bring you, I don't feel like you should restrict that part of physical sex. Is another part of this. And I denote physical sex because when we mention sex, we assume that sex is only physical. Sex is a skill. So really is you getting to know your partner and what their skill set is, and then you build it together. Assumptions are the termites of relationships. I'm gonna let that sit for a second. Assumptions are the termites of relationships. Termites could be tearing your house up, but you never know that the termites are tearing the house up because it's just eating away from the inside. And assumptions do that to relationships. I think we get into relationships assuming some things, assuming skill sets, assuming level of skill sets with the people we're partnered with. But out of respect for your partner, it's important to have open conversations to determine where the level of skill set that they have or what traumas they may be experiencing. And if you love that person and you care for that person and you want them to feel emotionally safe with you, you will walk on whatever journey they need to go through or you need to go through. You would hope that they would do that for you. Ultimately, kids deserve to be informed about these situations in a way that they can understand. But also, does it have to be this way for like, do we have to exist like this in America forever. We can do something about this. But if you're like me and every other citizen, you may feel like there's nothing you can do. I want to bring this picture to your attention. I just screenshotted this. I grabbed it from offline somewhere. But this is so accurate to depict the cycle that we're societally stuck on. Mass shooting happens, you get the media extravaganza, you get lots of thoughts and prayers, you get people on social media having gun debates, and then nobody actually does anything. And then we get back to normal, which we know what is normal. I have no idea, especially, I mean, I think even after COVID, we were trying to find a normal, but it's never been normal. Personally, I get stuck between the social media debates and not doing anything. I don't think that it's apathy on anybody's part. I think that we collectively get so mentally, spiritually, and physically weighed down by the heaviness of these events that we don't know what to do next. I saw someone say on X, formerly known as Twitter, that if the actual lawmakers can't make the change, then how can we? If the people with indispensable funds can't make the change, then how can we? If the invisible powers that be, because we all know the real deal, won't make a change, how can we? So here's my rebuttal: we can. But first, we have to decide to come together. We have to decide to build a community. We have to decide that many small acts add up to the big ones. We, the people, have to decide that enough is enough collectively, but like truly decide, not in words, but in action. Having a growth mindset is powerful. If we already believe it can't happen, then it won't. If we collectively believe something can happen, it will. And I'm not talking about thoughts and prayers. Rallies are well intended, but haven't been effective on a grander scale. Why? Because we know money is a factor in many decisions. So to make a sweeping change, money would have to be a factor. And it's not money, but like capitalism has to be a factor. We can greatly affect our local communities, and that can add up to a larger impact if we put a little sugar in the gas tank of the capitalistic engine. Money talks, doesn't it? I'm sure there are other ways, but I think that's the most effective way. Dear Black women, in a world that often fails to recognize the strength and resilience you embody, I want to take a moment to acknowledge and celebrate you. I see you. I see all of you. I want you to know just how proud I am of you. Black women come in all shapes, colors, and sizes with different hair textures, eye colors, and other variant attributes. But never forget, from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, you are beautiful. The world should bow down to you. After all, your womb is the cradle of all humankind. Your soul is the original vibratory frequency and aura, and the world continues to benefit from your physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional gifts and sacrifices over many lifetimes. You are incredible. You are powerful. You are confident. You are light. You are the personification of joy. You are the personification of love. You are fun. You are positive. You are generous. You exude royalty. Keep shining, Black woman. Sincerely, a Black woman. I've killed a lot of plants over the years, and as an official plant mom, I've killed more than I'd like to say. But I also saved a lot of plants that were on the verge of death. I changed their soil composition, propagated cuttings from the original plant, stopped watering the soil so much, or soaked the soil, depending on what the plant needed at the time, provided more sunlight by moving their position in the house, put them outside, or sang and talked to them. Like I told you, I'm singing to my babies, or providing music for them. I have done it all. and they revive themselves and come back vibrant and happy. I also was running through my neighborhood and saw a plot of land that someone tried to clear, but they left the stumps. And then I recently ran back through there after the winter had gone, and the stumps are now baby trees. Just because they cut down the trees doesn't mean that the life was stripped from the tree because it was still living. The roots are very much deep in the ground. So sometimes life has a way of cutting us down or killing our spirits because it's hard. But know, as long as you have life, you live. Don't give up just yet. Hold on a little while longer. You may need to change something up, or you just may need time to heal yourself. Whatever the case may be, give yourself grace through it all. So, as humans, we used to be deeply connected to the earth because we lived closer to the earth. We looked into nature for healing, sustainability, and survival needs. Now, with all this modern technology and the hustle and bustle of life, we are so removed from nature. We mistreat and abuse her and don't recognize how plants and nature are us and we are them. So, bringing awareness back to the parallels of nature and human life will bring a greater respect for nature and each other. It will bring about a collective peace we have yet to experience in our current society. We are so riddled with anger, and our bodies are overly acidic because of the processed, low quality, and fast foods. The song says, "Let's get back to Eden, live on top of the world." Eden literally means a place of pleasure. And it's no surprise that in the creation story, the most pleasurable place to be on earth is in a garden. My call to action for you this week is to reconnect with nature. Get outside and take a walk. Mindfully breathe in some fresh air. Eat lunch outside without your phone. Take a moment to let all of your senses drink up what is around you. Take off your shoes and put your feet in the grass. Just do something to connect to the earth. This tree was a honey locust tree. As we looked at the tree, we noticed these spikes that were growing from the bark. And the spikes may have been an adaptation to keep ancient mastodons from feeding off his bark. It does an amazing job of protecting itself. And even though mastodons no longer exist, the tree never felt the need to drop its protection. Trauma is energy that's attached to the DNA of a living being and can transfer through generations of life. So, in order to change the course of the defense mechanisms attached to our DNA, we have to do the work to heal our souls. Even then, the defense mechanism put in place for protection may need to exist because of collective healing that is not happening. So, understanding that energy is transferred but never dies, we must protect our energies, but also be intentional about healing the energy. Love is the highest frequency and it is the greatest healer. But you are only in control of your actions. So by showing love to yourself and for yourself, by protecting and healing your energy, you create a larger vibration of love. An area that I'm most interested in at this point and interested in helping others enhance is spiritual wellness, because really everywhere you go you take your spirit with you. We focus a lot of energy on what we do and not enough energy on who we are, and who we are is the only thing that we can take with us. We can't take what we do with us. We can't take any of these material things that we have with us, and so it's important to be spiritually well. And so you can do yourself a solid in this area by nurturing your inner peace and spiritual connection through introspection and reflection. You can also enhance your spiritual wellness by exploring different belief systems or practices that resonate with your values and beliefs. People struggle with going beyond what they have been indoctrinated to believe, but as one who spiritually explored past what I was indoctrinated to believe, there is peace on this side of enlightenment about life that was worth the journey. Lastly, cultivating mindfulness and embracing moments of stillness will assist you to find clarity and purpose in your life. I've never known how to truly get quiet and still. My brain's always like pew pew pew. Even now, when I need to be still to find clarity in my life, I go running. I ride in the car with no music. Take time to process your life. So when we're physically hurt, we tend to the open wound with care, clean it up, bandage it, and patiently wait for it to heal. It hurts while healing, but every day we tend to the hurt by cleansing the wound, rebandaging it when necessary, and making accommodations and even adjusting our lives for healing. And then the hurt lessens as it heals. There's no manual to guide us when we are hurting internally, or when we have emotional hurt, or we have energetic hurt. Our flesh and bone frames, they're smart, and they know what to do in order to heal. What do we do when we are trying to heal our soul? When we experience emotional wounds, we can't follow the same process as if we were healing our physical self. But there are some parallels. Truthfully, it's not comfortable for some people to feel feelings. Pick me. I was one who struggled with feeling my feelings. I struggled with feeling my feelings because I didn't know how far I would go into my feelings, and I didn't know how I was going to be able to bring myself back to be functional because so many people depend on me. However, you just can't put a band aid on your emotions. That doesn't work. You literally have to feel to heal. From my perspective, the deeper part of emotional wounds is that they're generally coupled with grief, which is an unpredictable phenomena in itself, because the deeper part of grief is rooted in love and care, which are emotions directly connected to the heart. And the kicker is that no one can control the grieving process. Give yourself space to experience all that life has to bring. And from the 30,000-foot view, no one realized that with billions of people on this planet, we are all experiencing the dualities of life simultaneously and at varying degrees. And if you find yourself on the hurting side of this duality, it's important to give yourself the same care, patience, and grace that you would extend to someone else and that you would extend to yourself if you had an open physical wound. Tend to yourself emotionally as you would physically, and don't rush the process. Move through with grace and gentle care for yourself, even when it still hurts. And most importantly, empower yourself to create the space to heal by any means necessary. You also have to feel safe in order to feel your feelings in order to heal. I'm talking about being emotionally safe. We know what it looks like physically, and we hesitate or refrain from doing things to help us feel safe emotionally and energetically to heal. I would like to encourage you, because you also don't have to wait for others to create a safe space for you to heal. Everything you have ever needed, you have and you will always have inside you. My call to action to you on this day is to vote. Can you just show up and show out, please, and thank you, on your county's Board of Elections website to see where you can vote early if you cannot vote on the day of the election. And let me tell you, I am a notary. And if you need any type of assistance with absentee ballots, or you know anybody in your life that needs assistance with absentee ballots, let me know so that I can help out. I can help to notarize, and I can help to get the ballot to where it needs to go. So, to schedule something with me, please visit my website. It's right here. Oh, on the side at the bottom, mallorymotory.com. That's my business, my notary business, to schedule an appointment with me. Furthermore, when you vote, be an informed voter. I know that there are some more pressing issues, or not more pressing issues, but people prioritize what they want to prioritize. Just be informed about all issues that you're voting for. And then lastly, thoroughly vet who you'll be voting for, because it's not just a vote for you. It's a vote for the kids, and it's a vote for their kids, and it's a vote for their kids. Really. The decisions that we make now will affect generations after generation. So if we are a village, then everybody has to do their part. think I'm autistic and I may have ADD because I have a really hard time focusing on things. And here's how I came to this conclusion. My son was diagnosed with autism in July 2019. When he got diagnosed, one of the first things you look for is like, how did this happen? And one of the things that come up is that it could be potentially genetic. But it was not until December 9th, 2023, when I saw this infographic posted on my friend's Facebook page that I even considered that I might even be autistic. My son has most of the characteristics on the left. So when I read that, I was like, no big deal. Like, yeah, that looks about right. But when I looked on the right, and I was like, okay, I'm counting through 11 of the characteristics on the whole chart could refer to me. Then I had to walk myself backwards through my childhood and my adulthood to see where I might have had these characteristics all along and they just were even recognized at all, just a part of a personality trait. And so that's really what I'm walking through right now is the just trying to discern like what's an actual personality trait and what might be a characteristic of autism. Most of the time, I feel very blessed that I am a parent. My son is literally a gift to me from source. And I know that our souls were meant to move through this part of the greater timeline together. So much so, sometimes I even struggle thinking about what happened in my life before he was a part of it. But I will say that I became a parent at 33 and I wasn't prepared to parent. Even though I felt like I was financially stable, even though I was in a marriage, I still feel like I wasn't ready for all that came with parenting. And when he became a part of my life, like everything shifted for me because my life became all about him and learning how to parent him. Because I became a parent, I lost myself and I lost my marriage and relationship for at least 2.5 years. I feel like I was in 2.5 years of a haze. And then I woke up to myself, and that was like, whoa, what happened? I still to this day, I mean, sometimes I just need a day or two or a week off from parenting. And I no longer feel guilty for feeling that way because it can be hard. If you are doing the best that you can, you are doing the best that you can. Society has a way of making us comparative and envious of each other, and social media has only made it worse. You used to only try to keep up with others on your block or in your city, but now the pressure of trying to keep up with the world is exhausting. But the reality of the matter is that everybody out here is struggling. No matter what they make it look like on social media, everybody's out here struggling. The struggle is real most of the time, 99.2% of the time. Of course, some of us have it easier than others, but the struggle is still real. And us trying to master the art of parenting is no exception because there's literally no manual to help you parent. There's no manual because you literally have to parent in the best interest of the child that you're parenting. You can have multiple children, and there will be some things that work with all of them, and there will be some things that only work with one or two of them. And so, in that, you have to give yourself grace as you navigate the uncharted water of building relationships with your children. Today, my call to action to you is to simply show up and show out for education and educators. First, if you are a parent, you are your child's first teacher. Prepare them in the best way that you can for school. And if you're choosing to send them into a school space, make sure that they get a good night's sleep, that they're hydrated with the proper hydration, water, and are getting a nutritious meal to feed their brain. Hot Takis is not a nutritional meal. So if you don't have this space to get your kids what they need, then it's okay to ask for help. Don't let your pride overshadow what is necessary. Get to your neighborhood school if you have kids or if you don't have kids, and ask them what they need. Another thing you can do is show up in spaces that create policies for schools and be active in that way. You can also sign up to substitute teach. There's a huge substitute teaching shortage. You can always donate supplies or items to fulfill the needs that can't be met by the resources of the school. Can you listen to teachers and advocate for the teacher voice in creating policies that directly affect schools? The people that are directly connected to children every day should be able to have the loudest voice. We're in an environment with kids every day, and we are literally the first responders to the physical, mental, emotional, and educational needs of children. Then shouldn't the voices of teachers like me be highlighted in making policy for educational space? My call to action today is really simple: treat people like people. Together, we can build a world where everyone is free to live authentically and without fear of discrimination or prejudice. And as I said earlier, it is really the puny 10% of our brains that creates separatism. Although we have differing characteristics, our hearts beat just the same. The blood flows through our bodies just the same, and breath connects us all. Love, compassion, kindness, respect, and deep empathy are the vibrations we should extend to others, because not only do we want others to extend that to us, it just makes your soul feel lighter to extend those virtues to others. And that's how we fight all the negative energies of the world, with the opposite vibration. Whenever you have negative, you have to snuff out the darkness with light. I feel like you can start by just treating people like people. And you can learn best how to treat people when you can learn how to physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually give yourself the love, kindness, compassion, and deep empathy you should give others. This is applicable to in many situations. Hashtag free Palestine, not a hashtag for real. Free Palestine. For real. Black Lives Matter. For real. LGBTQIA plus people are people. The question is, what have you perceived as a major failure in your life when it was happening, that really was your glow up? In an effort to be open and an effort to be vulnerable with my audience, I will share mine. And it took me a while to think about it, but I was like, yeah, that actually is one of the major, or what I thought at the time was a major failure, but actually ended up being a glow up, and a continual glow up, because baby, I am still ascending. The pivot was this particular instance. So 2 weeks into the pandemic, we had just got back from Mexico. We were quarantined, the world's being quarantined. And so we were stuck in this house. And 2 weeks into it, my husband asked me for a divorce. Just a little background, I am a child of divorce. And so I never thought that it would ever happen to me, that I would, or a circumstance would choose for me to be divorced. But here's what I did know. If I'm honest with myself, up at to that point we hadn't been good for a while, and especially after having a baby. That's Nobody talks about being in a relationship after you have a baby. Our relationship struggled recovering after having little Raymond. One of the things that we didn't really talk about was our different parenting styles. Like, because we never thought about it. We just was like, "Oh, okay, like we're together, like, that's just what's happening." But we never talked about it. And it was just really rough. I know that having a baby can wreck a relationship, and or a romantic relationship between you and your partner. It shouldn't, but it does, because there's another human that you have to take care of, and there's no manual for this human. You have to figure everything out by yourself. Google was my midwife. Google was my doula. Couldn't focus on that because I was then ousted into learning how to teach kids music online through a virtual environment. And luckily, I had a student teacher who was just phenomenal. Shout out to Emily because and get classroom experience, but baby, she can teach online because she was right there with me. I'm also learning how to continue my in-person doctoral student. Okay, y'all, I'm the student that's in the front of the classroom with the pencil hanging on to the instructor's every word and writing notes. I'm that student. Our program went from being in person one time a week to 100% online, and my professors, even though they were teaching hybrid, had to learn how to convert the doctoral program to a 100% online virtual program. And then on top of that, my dog Apollo was dying of cancer. I didn't know. I thought he was, I think honestly, he probably would have held on even longer had he not been also simultaneously dying of a broken heart because my other dog died like 2 years before, but he was sad the whole entire time. So it was all of these things plus divorce. I was a complete emotional wreck myself. And if I actually am honest with myself, I was experiencing depression. I didn't know what it was and I couldn't define it at the time, but that was also happening too. I was an emotional wreck. I was scared. No one knew what was happening. All of these things. I list that. I'm like, dang, I made it through that. I guess I did. But all those things were the undercurrent of everything else that was going on. Oh, not to mention my 3 year old, who had just the summer previously been diagnosed with autism, lost access to all of his services because we were at home. And so trying to walk through that and keep him safe because he was, had sensory issues with no mask on his face. He never wore a mask the whole entire pandemic. So just trying to walk through that and do the best I can, it was a lot. But let me tell you, on this side of it, I am so incredibly grateful and thankful for that time in my life. That situation would have ended up breaking a lot of people, and it almost broke me. But thankful to my mom, my sister. We worked out online. I got with Katie McCoy and Carrie Shuck, and we were outside working out and stuff like that. So that was important that I got my physical self up. It also helped me break through my people pleasing shell and helped me start diving into who I was because I honestly wouldn't have been able to tell you outside of me being a teacher who I was, what I wanted from my own life, and what my non negotiables were. It was wild that I got to that point without knowing what I wanted. And people outside of me are like, "Oh, you're so strong." And I was strong. But I also know how to put on a show. That's them life path threes. We know how to put on a show, baby. So what you thought you saw was actually just a mask that I wore. So I'm really proud of myself for breaking down those barriers. And before that, I honestly had never allowed myself the space because I'm such a giver. So giving myself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually to others at the detriment of myself was what I was doing. Anyway, I can say in this space that it truly marked the beginning of the greatest glow up for me. I'm still in the process of glowing up though, so I still haven't met my full glow up potential. So y'all keep watching the Mallory show because baby, I ain't done yet.